Before you meet the Vikings, Mr. Whitaker said, I have a small favor to ask. Sure. We'll do whatever you need, Beth said. While you're with the Vikings, Mr. Whitaker said, find a Viking sunstone. What's a Viking sunstone? Beth asked. I'm not sure yet, Mr. Whitaker said. I read about it in that note. He put his hand inside the machine. He pointed to the piece of paper sitting on the dashboard. Patrick and Beth noticed some things about the paper. It was thick and yellowed. It had fancy letters, and the paper looked very old. They also noticed Mr. Whitaker's hand. He wore an unusual ring. The top was a gold square. Tiny pearls sat around the square. It was the kind of ring a king would wear. I found this paper inside the imagination station, Mr. Whitaker said. The cousins climbed inside the machine to look at the note. They read the fancy letters. To save Albert, I need a Viking sunstone before the new moon. Or Lord Darkthorn will lock him inside the tower. Who is Albert? Beth asked. And what is Lord Darkthorn's tower? I'll explain all that later, Mr. Whitaker said. But what if we don't find the sunstone? Beth asked. Then I'll figure out a new plan, Mr. Whitaker said. Don't worry about it. Just have a good time while you're looking. I just want to meet the Viking who has the sunstone, Patrick said. He swung an imaginary sword in the air. Slash, jab. I think you're ready, Mr. Whitaker said. He stepped back and took his hand out. Beth noticed that the ring on his finger seemed to disappear. You'll be going back 1,000 years, Mr. Whitaker said. How will we return to now? Beth asked. The red button will appear when you are ready to come home, Mr. Whitaker said. Get back to where you landed. Push the button and presto, you'll be right back here. Mr. Whitaker stepped away from the imagination station. He pushed a button on the side. The door slid closed. Patrick looked at the control panel. The red button was flashing in the middle. He pushed it. The imagination station started to shake. Then it rumbled. It seemed to move forward. Beth gasped. She shut her eyes tight. It felt like a roller coaster that was out of control. Patrick felt as if he were an astronaut in a spaceship. He leaned back, waiting for takeoff. Then the rumble grew louder. The machine whirled. Suddenly, everything went black.